Okay, so I think we recovered eventually. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna have to, this is gonna have to be a separate stream on YouTube. I'll have to give it a new thumbnail and everything, but let's relaunch the game. Yeah. It's fine, I didn't advance past where we were. Alright, I don't remember what happened just before this. No, we were eating dinner. Hedwig is being herself, and we were saying this Latin thing. And everything seems to be looking fine right now. No issues. I think it's just there's like a hiccup with whatever I was using. All right. So she was saying, "Ego coque haec faciam vobis visitabo was velociter in agestate et ardore qui conficiat oculos vestros et consumat animas vestas." Soul, consume. I don't know what that means. Oculos is eyes, or hole, I guess. I guess it's probably your eyes, though. Vobis? Faki, that's just face. No, wait. Fakire, to make? I don't know what this means. Something. Okay, there you go. She's translating it for us. Alright, make sure everything's fine. Alright. Audio seems to be okay. Alright. I will appoint over your terror, consumption, and the burning ague that shall consume the eyes and cause the sorrow of the heart. I was positively awash in sorrow. I gotta do a tweet. New YouTube link. Let's link that. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's not good. Oh? This work? Need a space? Need a space. Alright. Back here. I was positively awash in sorrow. I was terrified beyond reckoning when I was racked with a mysterious illness. One that did not seem to be life-threatening, but enhanced my sorrow and fears thrice over. I was being punished. Reorganizing everything that I had before. Right. For the next few days, I completed my tasks in silence and wandered in the holes in a daze. I accepted my due. At night, the halls echoed with that familiar incessant scratching. I could stand at the end of my old hallway, torn between returning to the comfort of my cell and fear of the demonic symbol in the walls behind it. I must apologize. I don't remember anything worth noting for a little while after that. Okay. So what happens next? Now keys, a jug, drinking it like it was like getting wine from the cask. Excuse me? I'm very sorry, my stupor lasted for several days. Oh god. Days. in the end, Hedwig ends up wrapped in a stupor that lasts several days. Alright, what is this? How should I title this? Cloth. Cloth and wine. There we go. After the stupor. The superior eventually pulled me into her office and gently asked if I'd made any progress. I hadn't, of course, which meant the rest of the conversation was decidedly less gentle. Hedwig, I'm sure that I don't need to impress the importance of your tasks upon you again. Not at all, it's just... The path forward seems exceedingly simple to me. You haven't even breached the topic with Catherine with Catherine 1. How exactly do I do that, without giving the entire thing away? I would have expected that by now. You'd have been able to ingratiate yourself to the sisters. Can you really think of no way to elegantly approach the subject? Not that easy. Of course it won't be easy. Speaking of the dead never is. But surely you can come up with a way to be elegant about it. I think you are vastly overestimating my social abilities. It's hardly been a week. I don't mean to be too brutish, but you haven't been drawn and quartered by any conspirators yet, have you? You're not suspected of any ulterior motives, I'm certain of it. All the more reason that starting to press now feels so difficult. The superior sighed deeply. Let's walk things through together. James told you Catherine could vouch for him regarding his traveling cloak. I imagine there's a way to confirm this without revealing too much. Oh. I suppose you can ask Catherine, Catherine 1 generally. Respectfully, of course. And then you could, I don't know, mention you heard something about the cloaked villain arriving that morning. It's better than nothing. It sounds like you've thought about this. Maybe you should ask her. You're her superior, after all? I'm your superior as well. Of course, I didn't mean... And I could not ask her for that precise reason. I am in charge of this place, and therefore everyone has the guard up around me. That doesn't make any sense. It is the way of the world. Being in charge is often more work than being charged. It is exhausting. But they'll trust me. I don't think anyone here would confide in me so readily. It is more likely they would speak to you openly, yes. Or at the very least, they may be less inclined to choose every word so carefully. You just don't know. Hedwig, you met James. You saw his suffering. I did. And perhaps you have not shown it, but the sisters are suffering as well. Bringing the truth to light will help to heal everyone, will fix everything. Well, not the accused. I just want the truth. If the sisters are keeping secrets, it could well be that they are hiding the truth out of fear rather than malice. The cloud must be lifted, for everyone's sake, and for Catherine 2's. I wish everyone would stop calling her that. It doesn't feel right. Catherine 2. I assure you, I mean it with utmost affection. She took to it wholeheartedly. Her and Catherine the First. They played some sort of game for it. It was a series of chess games, if I recall. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised at this point. It is an exceedingly popular game. It's not just for children, it's for your apprehension. I wouldn't say I have any apprehension. I mostly just find myself frustrated by its use as a sort of language all its own. I think I was expecting that years and years of reading scripture would have been enough to prepare me for speaking in an abbey. Interesting. You know, I actually find it surprising none of the books you had in your cell mentioned chess. It feels very old to me. There's so much written about it. As you've pointed out, it weaves through every conversation. I've known about it my whole life. It's very frustrating. It's more than just chess. I don't feel like I'm relating to these women at all. What have I taught you? What? Yes. Would you like to learn how to play? I wouldn't want to impose. Don't be silly. It's a game. It's not an imposition in the slightest. Besides, if it'll help you build your confidence up somewhat. Alright. The Superior calls Hedwig in to discuss any progress in her investigation, of which there's none. Hedwig admits she's had none. You should probably mention the thing, right? This turns to a discussion about how Hedwig does not know about chess, and the Superior offers to teach her. She heaved it onto a desk and opened the clasps, revealing an impressively polished chessboard. She carefully laid this board on the desk and beckoned me to bring my chair closer. She began removing beautifully carved pieces from the box and placing them on the board. Some were brilliant white, and others were tinted with a red hue. Ivory. Aren't these lovely? They're incredible! Now these common ones, that's right, the smaller ones, those are the pawns. They get lined up in the front, like this. They look a bit like thimbles. They do, don't they? Line them up in a row here. And what does the one on the horse do? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need to acquaint you with the most important pieces first. This one here is the king. I will spare you the details of my first game. Needless to say, I did quite terribly, although not for lack of trying. I just couldn't quite wrap my head around it. It was interesting, though. It made me realize I couldn't remember playing any games with anyone else before. I had little rituals I performed in my cell that I suppose you might consider games. I would commit the words I was studying closely through Lectio Divina, and then I would see if I could make those passages and phrases again with the words I wrote while transcribing new Bibles. That? Oh, what? Does that not count as a game? I will agree that it is different. You play a game by yourself, but it's hard to consider that competition. The spirit of the whole endeavor is something different entirely. I sound just like Sister Della, don't I? At the very least, playing chess with the Superior was enlightening. I finally grasped why playing so-and-so moves ahead was such a helpful phrase. Unfortunately for me, I could barely think through the move I was making, let alone what I'd do in the future. I believe that is checkmate. But, so it's over. Don't be discouraged, it was your first game. You did admirably, considering. Thank you. I'm more than happy to play with you more in the future if you'd like. But promise me you will ask Catherine about James's cloak one way or another. You made a promise to him after all. And I think both of us have an unspoken promise to keep for Catherine II's sake, don't you? I will make sure to speak with Sister Catherine. Good girl. I'll summon you again in a few days' time. She'd been gesturing to me with my defeated king's piece throughout this exchange. With a flick of a wrist, she placed it back in the study box along with the other pieces. I stood up to leave and bowed my head. Thank you, Your Reverence. Now we spoke of this. Yes, of course. Until next time, Superior. She nodded and returned to tidying up the chessboard. I left the room. It was mid-afternoon. I remember the sky looking cloudier than ever, as if the fog I had seen surrounding the Linborough Tor had encroached around the abbey itself. What a strange place this isn't. I'd promised the Superior I would speak to Catherine, but I admit that I was reluctant to run straight to her all the same. If she came to me, she came to me. After all, I would need to bring the topic up naturally. It was no use chasing her down. Okay. I decided to clear up my head with a stroll through the gardens. My stupor had not cleared completely, but I at least had the energy and desire to be among the flowers. What were we gonna bump into next, I wonder? It was a reassuring feeling. It had been quite a few days since I'd felt the capacity to want. So we've run into basically everyone. We haven't had any big conversations with Angela. We had a little bit with Flora. Even with grey skies above, the garden was a jewel. Flowers are fewer than I imagined. They might be in spring, but nonetheless, the bushes, hedges, and herbs were a welcome and inviting sight. I heard rustling up ahead. To my delight, a black cat eventually emerged from the bushes. Uh-oh. Get him! Hedwig goes outside to clear her head. Hedwig loses her first game. And stumbles across a black cat. It looked at me briefly with its big moony eyes for a moment. I forgot all of my troubles. I stepped forward to coo at it. It looked at me inquisitively. But a sudden sound from the bushes startled the poor thing. It scampered away, leaving me somewhat disappointed. Sneeze? Who's sneezing here? Who's sneezing out here? A figure emerged through the bushes next to me. Sister Angela! Scares the cat away. And Angela steps out of the bushes. Did you see it? The cat! No, the cow. She looked entirely ridiculous. There were twigs sticking out of her hood from her attempt to squeeze through the bushes, and she was breathing heavily. I suppose she must have been chasing the cat for quite some time. Of course, I mean the cat. Yes? Which way did it go? It sort of scurried off that way. I gestured toward the edge of the path. I was trying to giggle at Angela's misfortune, especially given that thinking about the animosity between us had put me in a daze for half a week. I see. She glanced in the direction I had indicated, then sighed and stood up straight. Let's take a screen cap of her. If you do find another opportunity, do try to seize it. Cats have no business here in the Abbey. I'm not. Doesn't matter. I know you're not used to being outside of your cell, but I would have thought obedience would not be so foreign a concept. I am the prioress, that should be reason enough. Why do you hate me so much? Angela was busy removing debris from her hood and cowl, but I could see her arch her eyebrow even higher than I was used to. I don't hate you. Well, it certainly seems like you do. I should perhaps save this confrontational entry for questioning Catherine. But seeing Angela so out of sorts had, I must admit, urged me to act on the feelings that had been brewing inside me for the past several days. She'd been chasing the cat and looked, uncharacteristically disheveled. This, seeming vulnerability, causes isn't the right word. Encourages Hedwig to air her grievances. That's funny. You know, I could ask you the same question. I seem to recall that I walked in on you being incredibly childish in your estimation of me. That was... Did she... Egged you on? Don't be pathetic. Own your words. You've been very cruel to me since we first met. When you ran straight into me. That was a mistake. Yes, one you've made no effort to correct, it seems. I seem to recall you barreled into me later the same day. I don't hate you, Sister Hedwig. I simply find you tiresome. I'm exhausted by what you represent. I wish you would believe me when I say I'm not after your job. I have no interest in running the Abbey. Or any Abbey for that matter. Even if I did believe you, which I'm not saying I do, that wouldn't comfort me much at all. Succession seems to be the Superior's plan for you, even if she hasn't told you. I'm the new chronicler, that's all. Yet you seem to leave your job quite early each day. I'm not a terribly prolific writer. Not yet. Huh. This is one of the first times Angela hadn't had a retort ready to fire back at me. I was so surprised that it almost knocked me off balance, as much as a piercing reply would have. To trade, I guess barbs isn't the right one, accusations for a bit. Anyway, for my part, I don't hate you. I'm afraid of you, I think. That's good. That means you have not... Priorities, Angela. That means you've not yet abandoned all respect for authority. How perfectly cruel of you to say. That is exactly what I mean when I ask, why do you hate me? And once again, I must say, I do not hate you. I hate your disregard for the natural disorder of things. I hate that once again I've been saddled with unruly children to rear as my own because the superior has no interest in doing it herself. I am not a child! You're a babe, not 2 weeks out of the womb. You weren't alive in that cell, and choosing to break that seal is a grave sin all its own. But by my estimation, you need my help more than anyone here. Then help me! I do not revel in my sins. I'm not proud of them. What help can you offer me beyond venom? Do you know what this place is, Hedwig? Linborough Tor is not a normal monastery. Surely you've noticed even with your complete lack of worldly experience. Let's see. So, Angela says that out of everyone here, Hedwig needs help the most. And Hedwig asks for real help and not just Barb's. Angela says that this monastery is not normal. Of course, but this is the last stop before the gates of hell. You think all the sisters here ended up in this ruin of their own volition? You think there are an abundance of women in the world eager to take the veil and serve the Lord here? Make no mistake, you should be begging for my approval. You have emerged into a den of vipers, not a house of God. You shouldn't trust a word any of the sisters tell you. You should be wary of their intentions. Why, their behavior in the wake of the murder of one of their own should be evident enough. I don't hate you, Sister Hedwig. I'm simply the person here who cares enough not to lie about you. The other nuns here are not to be trusted, she says. I have high expectations for your behavior. That is all. You, at the very least, have the potential to serve God with humility and grace here on this hill. Not like the other lost woman here. The criminals and the freaks. Christ spoke highly of the prostitutes and tax collectors only on condition that they sinned no more. The sisters here, they believe they are owed salvation. If that is true, Sister Angela, why... Spit it out. Why are you here? Why, indeed. And with that, she brushed the last twig out of her habit, peered down her nose at me one last time, and left. How perfectly bewildering that woman was to me. Forgive me for being cross, but to this day I find her treatment of me beguiling. I'd spent days wondering, did I deserve this? Was Angela a conduit through which God could pursue me for the sins Angela rightfully pointed out to me? I still wonder that, in my calmer moments I acquiesced to the idea. In my lowest moments I almost relish in it. But the truth of the matter is, every time I was presented with her, her maddening ability to pinprick me to always find something wrong with me. I'm doing it right now, aren't I? Ignore me. All is right with the world. I'm back here in my cell where I belong. Oh, that's where she decided to go back in, huh? Hey, Trent, how's it going? We are, doing a visual novel today. We had bad disconnect happen earlier, which was unfortunate. How's it going? Hope you're having a good one. Let's see what we're reading. I deserve every bit of I am recounting to you. It's just that in retelling the story, I must inhabit a previous version of myself to properly describe how I felt. I'll try my best not to let the past and the present bleed together too much in the future. Angela huffed away after the cat. I decided I'd better head the opposite direction if I was to avoid any more unpleasantness. Going tired as fuck? You just spent 2 weeks in the hospital and those meds still make you tired. Ooh, hospital. That's rough. My arms are all scabbed up and bruised from how many fucking blood draws and shit I had to get. Well, hope you're feeling better now. 2 weeks in the hospital sounds rough. I walked back toward the rectory. The last of my mind's haze replaced the burning indignance. I would not say I was in a good mood, but I was certainly more alert than I had been for some time. Oh, there, the terrible duo. There she is. Splendid! Hello, Sister Margaret, Sister Catherine. Angela goes off to search for the cat. Hedwig bumps into Margaret and Catherine. We were looking for you. What luck? I told her to look for you. I wanted to make sure she did. Margaret has this very amusing idea that I'm a flake. Can you believe it? Anyway, we would like to cordially invite you to the Misericorde this evening. That's right. You seemed all out of sorts recently, and a little birdie told me that Charity may have indicated that you were welcome. Which you are, as it happens. But you've been in such a state recently, Margaret got it into her head. Perhaps you were waiting for a more direct invitation. Which I actually suggested Catherine extend several days before you even spoke with Charity about it, I should add. Which I don't remember, but I would never accuse Margaret of lying. Hence, would you like to join the Misericorde tonight? Got used to it. Being home felt foreign. Cannot say I'm used to it even 3 days later. Break from outside family, visiting hours is pretty welcome. Though not gonna lie, nice time to be by myself. Plus the hospital's menu is massive. Ooh! Dad brought my own spices and hot sauces for those inevitable bland dishes. Was it like some kind of injury, or were you sick, or was there something else going on? You don't have to share if you don't want to, but I am curious. Hence, would you like to join us in the Misericorde tonight? Invite her to the Misericorde that night. Catherine says that she heard that Charity had extended invitation to her. Although Margaret claims that she had been wanting to invite her even before then. I'm very grateful for the invitation. I hope you don't think I was moping around because of that. Although... wonderful. I knew it couldn't have been my fault. Catherine. Margaret. Let us speak. Of course. Did Charity explain what happened after our conversation? No. There was nothing else mentioned. Well... I looked over my shoulders and peered past this pair of sisters in front of me. Just in case Angela was preparing to make another dramatic entrance. Sister Angela may have overheard the two of us speaking unfavorably about her. Is that all? No wonder she didn't say anything about it. Arguments with Angela happen all the time. It's practically passé to mention. You had hyponatremia, then refeeding syndrome because you were puking nonstop for 8 days. Ouch. Well, it did sound like you got to enjoy food later, though, so that seems like you know, that you got a reward for getting through that. Sounds like it sounds pretty awful, though. Glad you're feeling better. Hope you get used to being back home again soon. I don't understand. She was extremely upset. It was horrible. You never forget your first. First time she caught me in the pantry at night, she dragged me by my ear to the superior's office to wake her up to demand I be punished. Were you? Of course not. Soup mumbled something about sleep being important. Shut the door. Honestly, it meant more for Angela than me. Angela had it in her head that I am responsible for the cat running around the abbey. And she will not stop bothering me about my broken door. It is a bit creaky. I'm a busy woman. Besides, I can't work with my hands. About her dealings with Angela and the other two. Don't feel it's anything new. Margaret was once dragged by Angela to the Superior's office after being caught in the pantry late at night with the Superior. Did not seem to care. Catherine mentions her door and Angela believing she's keeping the cat. So we shouldn't worry about Angela. No. Not in the slightest. I considered expanding my story to include the encounter with Angela that I just left, but I decided not to pursue the subject further. I was relieved to hear that I had some support in the matter. However, I didn't want to risk continuing to invoke Angela's name, lest she emerged from behind a corner or drop from the ceiling at that very moment. You got to eat for days, but your levels took forever to get well enough to discharge. Now you're taking hella meds to keep them regular. Got me some fucking neuropathy from that shit too. Youch. What does one exactly do in the Misericorde? Drink? Yes, there's a lot of wine. Is it all? Wine is, I'm sure you're aware, is a staple of life in monasteries. So this, on its own, was not exactly enticing. After all, there was practically an ocean of the stuff just below us. Better wine than we usually drink, to be clear. Wine that's made for drinking, not just for drinking. Oh, I see. There's also chess, music. If I feel like I'm breaking out the loot anyway. We read and talk. It's an oasis of pleasure here in our boring little community. Angela will not be attending tonight, by the way. Well then, I'd be delighted to join you. Splendid. Very sorry if you're feeling left out. I assure you I was not, but thank you all the same. You really worry too much, Margaret. Huh? Well then, I'll see you later. The two excused themselves. Are you surprised that I agreed to attend what sounds plainly like a night of debauchery, gossip, and sin? Well, I suppose I surprised myself too. Although, as I'm sure you've guessed, I had an ulterior motive. A wine-soaked event would be the perfect opportunity to ask Catherine about poor James. Tongues would be looser than usual, and my questioning might not be under quite such scrutiny. Hedwig agrees to go to the Misericorde. She plans to ask Catherine about the suspect there. I explained all this to the Superior, who pulled me aside after supper to ask if I had fulfilled my promise. The Misericorde. Yes, it seems like the best way for me to talk to Catherine about it. It'll seem natural. And it didn't feel natural at any other point you saw her today. But she was giving you this invitation, perhaps. Margaret was with her. I see. But I don't love the prospect, but as long as you get the result we need, I can't stop you. Is there something wrong with the Misericorde? He tells the Superior this as much after supper. On the plus side, I finally got that damn spinal tap, and now I got appointments to schedule for fucking radiology and meet with a neurologist, because they're all like, oh shit, MS. I passed out 8 years ago, otherwise this would have been squashed. Let me tell you, The only thing that would have stopped me from getting off the tail was the fact you were still— oh, dang. Yeah, that sounds rough. Hope things get better soon. Superior is hesitant isn't the right word. Apprehensive about Hedwig joining them at the Misericorde. Although Hedwig is unsure why. It's a space with explicitly relaxed rules. To be honest, I'm surprised you weren't more vocally opposed. Well, it's a rule unto itself, is it not? I cannot argue with tradition. I see. You're a stickler, but not a spoil sport. Something like that. I can understand that, I suppose. The problem is, given that most rules around here are quite lax. I'm sure everything is going to get better. Still young, nothing scary outside of the admission test in ICU for the first couple of days. It's only up from here. I pray to the sky genies. True. Well, either way, hopefully, you know, things get better. The problem is, given that most rules around here are quite lax, the bar is raised a bit higher in there, I think. Angela certainly cares about the rules. Well, she's the prioress, that's her job. But perhaps, although she might go a little too far in the other direction for my taste. What is your ideal picture for this place, then? I'd be curious to know. It's a very interesting question. Thank you for asking. The Superior swelled the cup she held in her hand and looked off into the middle distance behind me. In an already relaxed monastery. Hedwig asks what the Superior's ideal view of the picture of a monastery is. It would be much the same, truthfully. The building won't be in such disrepair. I wouldn't have to suffer such direct insubordination on a regular basis, but I certainly wouldn't rule by the sword. That's the trouble with the Misericorde as it exists now. I have no quarrel with the concept of an easement of the dam, but I'm not sure there's much of a dam currently. What do you mean? I wish I knew what they threw in their black tea, because that shit is otherworldly, and their almond milk was made in the kitchen every second morning. Bro, that shit was too good. I'm in an almond milk hunt now, because I'm too lazy to make it. Dang. You should call them and ask what they put in their tea. A non-urgent call to the hospital asking how they make their tea. Let's see. You tried to find the kitchen number. It says it's much the same, but with things with the monastery. But with a little less direct insubordination. Do you think the Misericorde suffers? The idea of the Misericorde makes less sense when the other nuns are so— this music is wild. What is going on here? Towns need inns. The workers in the fields, the lowliest peasants deserve the holidays. Precepts must be upheld, but I think they can only be upheld if people are allowed at least the illusion of breaking them. That is surprising, to say the least. You disagree, then? That's understandable. But for one, are we not nuns? Forgoing earthly delights is our strength and purpose, surely. It would seem we have reversed positions here. Flip the chessboard the other way around, as it were. Well, in my ideal abbey, everyone is content. They do their tasks and enrich their lives and serve as vessels as prayer. And then they are allowed a brief respite, so that they do not become overwhelmed or discouraged by their work. I spent my whole life alone in a cell with my work, and not once did I complain. Superior tilted her head in a manner that reminded me of the cat I'd seen Angela chasing. The Superior tilted her head in a manner that reminded me of the cat I'd seen Angela chasing earlier that day. You're pissed. Apparently, it's the same number as that cafe they have in the hospital. You just gotta do the stupid press 1, 2. Oh, now you've solved the mystery. Now you can find out. Did you never dream of leaving? Was there nothing in your books that you wished you could see for yourself? Never. The writing was enough. An opportunity to use the Misericorde to prevent from being overwhelmed. Hedwig says that she never once felt like she was overwhelmed doing only her work. Never. The writing was enough. You must have a truly vivid imagination. I'm not sure I do. I just never needed anything else. Hopefully they tell me the kitchen is closed in 27 minutes. Might as well let the patients get their last-minute orders in. I call tomorrow. Alright. You never sang to yourself? Invented little games? Well, I did have a few reading games now that you mention it, but perhaps that is how we arrive at an understanding then. You were perfectly content in the world as you experienced it. But you still needed to come up with something of your own. Something different. That's the ideal purpose of the Misericorde. Tavern, the arena, and so on. I find that very hard to swallow. They spam call you if you don't order by now, it's crazy. Well, I mean, you know, last call. They don't want you to go not eating. Would you say the same of prostitution? Superior made a sneering gesture that took me aback. You're flailing your way out of check here, I'm afraid. There's no need to grasp such extreme examples. Of course, I don't feel that way about whoring. The way she says that, Jesus. Now don't retort by asking if I find whores beyond resumption then, by the way. I wasn't. I wouldn't. Would it make sense? You're quite right. She finished her drink. She finished her drink in quite silent satisfaction. I seemed for a minute. I'm afraid she was actually entirely correct in her assumption that pivoting the conversation back to scriptural understanding was my intended reply. I find the Misericorde in its current state unseemly. The rules here aren't being followed outside of it, let alone inside of it. I worry about what the sisters could be up to in there. It ceases to be an easement if the whole plane is flooded. Well, I'll be careful. I'm sure one night with the others won't utterly corrupt me. See that it doesn't. I suppose it can't hurt for you to experience it for yourself and report back to me exactly how founded my assumptions are. If you're that worried about it, why not just disallow it? It's an expected function of a Benedictine monastery. Besides, I have no interest in making the women respect me less. Would they respect you less if you took it away? Or would they would respect you more if you showed that you had the power? The Superior believes that the Misericorde, as it is, might be too corrupting in influence. But admits that she did have to pass time with small games and such. Pastime? Not pastime, small games of her own. Hedwig wonders why the superior doesn't just disallow it. Aside from it being a, what's it called? Required? Not required. An expected function of their kind of monastery. The superior believes she would lose the women's respect if she did so. I dare say I'd be the next one found without a head. I shuddered. While I was never completely free from fear, direct confrontation with the reality of my situation still unmoored me. It made me feel like I was being watched. Please don't say just things. I'm simply making a point. As I've said before, I must play a very cautious strategy in my position. Speaking of, would you like to play a game? The change of subject was a relief, I must admit. Not issues specific to me, I don't think. The website I'm using to broadcast on both YouTube and Twitch at the same time, I think went down for like 15 or so minutes, or like had issues for about that time. So yeah, that was unfortunate. I was not very good at yes, I must confess. Oh wait, did I read the previous line? I don't know. We whittled away some time playing chess. I was not very good at it, I must confess. Nonetheless, I appreciated the opportunity to fill my mind with something beyond visions of blood and guts. What was that slow fade out? Alright. Let's see here. They play chess afterward to whittle away the time. I keep using that phrase. The Misericorde. Margaret tells Margaret tells Moira that Hedwig will be joining them. I spelled that wrong. Oh really? Lucky her. Oh really? Lucky her? We just left the rectory after the evening meal. There was apparently still some time before the Misericorde's door would open. I had a little bit of time to while away, preparing myself for a night in the lion's den. Don't make such a fuss about it. Why not? We're just happy to have you. Well, I'm happy to hear it. But nonetheless, you're making me nervous. You'll have so much fun. Such a special occasion, honestly. Special? Well, yes. Isn't this going to be your first time ever going to a social event? Careful. Don't break her. Sorry. Wait. Sorry? There we go. I felt like I was about to faint. Moira was completely correct, of course. Never in my life had I been anything more sociable than meals. I've been to anything more sociable than meals in the rectory. And those have been overwhelmingly enough on their own. I'm going to do my best to have a good time. That's all that matters. It'll be fun. But what am I going to do anyway? I suppose we don't really do anything specific. It's very fluid. We've got to chessport. I think Catherine mentioned that there's music sometimes. I'll bring my lute. You have your own lute? Yes. Catherine II gave it to me ages ago. One day I should ask Catherine if she could nick the portative for an evening rather than just disabling it. That could be fun to mess around with. I wish you wouldn't fiddle around with the superior's things. It's all good fun. The soup knows. I'm not so sure. Hedwig, you're getting too nervous again. Moira seemed so carefree ever since the day she broke down while talking to me in the dormitories. I was jealous of her ability to have that be her one emotional outburst on such a horrible subject. It was as if she'd simply been able to drain the abscess and heal the wound. Everyone asks what sort of things they'd be doing. Margaret mentions chess and music. She has her own lute. And she thinks about telling Catherine to steal the portative, to borrow the portative, rather than disabling it sometime to try it out. I wish I could do the same. Unfortunately, every one of my fears and miseries seem to linger and fester within each other. Hedwig muses about how Moira seems to have been able to get all her emotions out with a single outburst, instead of wallowing in it like Hedwig does. If my head was a diseased limb, I'd simply have to lop it off. The sun was just starting to set. I decided to go for a walk in the garden. It was one of the best places for me to clear my head that didn't involve drawing a bath, provided it didn't run into Angela at least. But what were the odds of that happening again? I was determined to make real, tangible progress tonight. The Superior was right to be frustrated with the lack of momentum. That poor young man had begged me to do something to secure his freedom, and then I had slipped into a dark spell for days. I'd been selfish. It wasn't going to be impossible. Things weren't so bad. I even had a clue to follow up on. It would be easy to talk to Catherine about the cloak when we'd both had a few cups of wine. There was nothing to worry about. I was genuinely interested, after all. What would I tell Catherine if she asked how I knew about the cloak? Huh. Hedwig. Hello! I want to show you something. In the gardens. Well, Hedwig wonders how exactly she should extract information from Catherine. Darcy shows up, show her something. You've got to come see. Very well. Darcy scurried off around the bend and toward the cloister before I could finish my reply. I had to hike up my robe to keep up with her without tripping on the stairs. She was leading me to the dorms, it seemed. Whatever it was she had to show me, I could not guess. Sorry about the mess. I lost an important mushroom and I'd been turning the place upside down looking for it. She had ushered me into her room in the dormitory. It was a stark contrast from my own. There were bits and bobs everywhere. Haphazardly stacked books, bottles of various sizes, both empty and full, little scraps of paper, plants in little pots. Darcy had certainly made the space hers. I've been working on this for a while, and I think you might be interested. She was standing in front of a small cauldron that was full of a thin, clear liquid that smelled a bit like wet grass. I'd been sick and sad a lot lately, and I thought, well, maybe I could do something about that. Do something? Did you make this for me? It is a little something I am fiddling with. Will make you feel better, maybe. What's in it? I didn't want to sound rude, but I couldn't help but think about what might happen if I drank something Darcy had brewed. It has some St. John's wort, some sage, and some water from the hills. I boiled it all down, with some other things as well, I forget. As mint for flavour, though. She's been cooking up something to drink that will hopefully make Hedwig feel better. St. John's wort, sage, and water. As well as some mint for flavor. Mentha, that's right. She ladled some of the liquid into a little bottle. The whole setup was a little precarious, I lunged forward to stop the wobbling cauldron from plummeting to the floor as Darcy knocked it about with her sleeves. Oh, steady on me. I think I was here. Anyway, try some. Darcy, is this quite alright for me? What do you mean? I have a frail constitution and this is very, 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 very light. Do not worry. You think I could drink this without any trouble? If I did it right, it will in fact lessen your troubles. That is very kind of you. I hope I'm not being rude. I just, you know, the Bible often reminds us to remain sober-minded. You're not sober-minded. You are sad a lot and lonely as well. I was very worried while you were not talking very much. I'm not very good at talking, so I did not want to butt in while you were saying precious few things. But it still made me sad to see that, so I wondered what I could do to help. This will help you remain sober-minded. The world is strange and there is much to be sad about. Even here, of course. But there's no better way to face the sadness than to be prepared. That's all this is. She held the vessel out to me. Well, I took it from her and gingerly took a sip. It was surprisingly thick, although it didn't taste as bad as I'd imagined. Maybe the menth helped after all. Darcy beamed at me and took the bottle back from me, filling it up and closing it with a stopper before passing it back to me. Some more for later if you fancy. I don't feel any different. It will take a little bit, but I'm sure it will relax you before tonight. That would be nice. Will you be joining us in the Misericorde as well? Not tonight, I'll be busy with other things. The odds were increasing that I would have to deal with Angela in a social setting that night. The idea was not relaxing in the slightest, and actively worked against whatever Darcy's potion might have been doing for me at the very moment. You'll have fun. You'll feel like a real member of the Abbey after tonight, I reckon. It's not going to be some sort of hazing, is it? Goodness, no. That was the pranks. Right. I got you good. True enough, true enough. She smiled at me once more, and then ushered me out of her dorm. I do not mean to rush you, but I have some work to do. Not at all. Thank you for the tincture. Hope it serves you well. I gave a little nod of thanks and hurried out of the room. There was yet some time to while away before it would be appropriate to head to the Misericorde. Really enjoying the VA. We're doing some reading because there's no voices, so I'm not just gonna sit here silently reading. I decided I would hole up in my dorm and calm myself with some reading. A splendid idea, until I realized that I currently had no books in the room save for one. Alright, let's see. Hedwig drinks some and is given a bottle to save for later. There's still time until going to the Misericorde. So Hedwig goes to her room to read. Her only option. I really should have asked the Superior to move my collection out of the cell and into my dormitory. Medea simply wouldn't do for now. I felt a little apologetic. I, of course, still appreciated the gift Catherine had given me by transcribing the play for me. But I was not sure that it was something that would help me feel any less tense at this moment. I needed something like Ecclesiastes, not a story about a pagan woman murdering her children. I lay down on the bed and held the little bottle Darcy had given me up in the air, so I guess she's not reading it. She decides against reading, since her only option is the Medea. I rotated it in my fingers and stared at it. There are no words on it, but I was still trying to read it, I think. If that makes any sense at all. I could feel the cool glass getting warmer between my fingertips. I ran my thumb over the cork. I could sense just how much rougher the cork was than the bottle. The longer I did it, the easier it would be to notice the sounds the bottle made as well. The gentle sloshing of the liquid inside, and the way the stopper brushed against my skin. It absorbed me utterly. I wondered if perhaps Darcy's concoction was working after all. After several minutes, I was so engrossed in the patterns of light dancing through the dark green bottle that I scarcely had room in my mind to think about anything else. Do you ever do that? She instead finds herself thoroughly engrossed by the bottle in her hands, by the sensations of the bottle in her hand. Feel an object every which way until it feels like everything. I don't have any more of that tincture in me, but I still try from time to time. Lectio Divina. The very act of rereading and repeating a single line of scripture over and over till it almost feels meaningless. Till the words are just sounds and the letters are just shapes. That is how I spent many of my days and nights in my cell, breaking through all stray thoughts and bypassing all frivolous interpretations of the word, and simply living inside the true meaning of it, reaching understanding through feeling rather than language. For a moment, I was that little bottle. We're getting started to the Misericorde now. Just thought I'd tell you as early as possible in case you planned on being fashionably late. Coming. And let's see. Catherine knocks when it's time. The Misericorde. Why are you notificationing me? Go away. The clarity I'd been enjoying burst like a bubble, and I was thrown right back into nervous anticipation. I rose from the bed and did my best to straighten out my robe. While doing so, the tincture fell from my trembling fingers. Luckily, it didn't shatter. It bounced once, and then rolled around the cold floor, making an odd twinkling noise. You alright in there? Sorry, I just dropped something. I scrambled to pick up the bottle, unsure if it was some contraband I would get in trouble for holding if Catherine, or worse, Angela, saw. Plus, I was so nervous. The tincture now safely in hand, I uncorked it and downed the second dose. It was cool, pleasant, and minty. I could practically feel myself physically relaxing. Alright. Hedwig decides to down the second dose of the tincture and heads out. I was like, the cold concoction was replacing the black bile that ran in my blood with something else, something much more agreeable. I slapped my own cheeks to bring out some color and shivered all over. I was ready. I opened the door to meet Catherine, who was leaning against the door frame, examining her fingernails. You look significantly less terrible than the first time I collected you like this. I feel quite good, actually. Hold still. She stood up straight and licked her thumb as she had once before. This time I was prepared. She rubbed it against my forehead, undoubtedly attending to some wayward bit of hair poking out from underneath my cap. There we are. Not bad. We'll make a little princess out of you yet. I simply smiled. Catherine turned on her heel and strode out the dorms, and I followed close behind into the hall. As we passed the library, the door opened a crack. Is it time already? Indeed it is. Are you coming tonight? Not tonight. Very busy. That's a shame. You can tell me all about it next time you're here to chronicle. Have fun. I suddenly remembered something important I'd been meaning to ask Eustace. In my miserable stupor, I'd completely forgotten to ask her about Darcy's vision. I leaned forward to speak quietly, aware that others behind me were watching. It wasn't as if Darcy's visions were a secret. They run into Eustace, who will not be attending Misericord that night. Then Hedwig remembers she needs to ask Eustace about Darcy's visions. Before you go, I was meaning to ask, could I read some of your notes about Darcy's visions sometime in the near future? No. Really? I'd find them ever so interesting. She said I should ask you about them, and I'm saying no. Have a nice night, Hedwig. About her notes on Darcy's visions. Eustace says she will not, refuses to let Hedwig see them. There we go. She closes the door firmly. It seems rather a pity she's not coming. She could be quite fun with enough wine in her. Anyway, in here. Catherine opened the door to the Misericorde and held it open for me, ushering me in as if she were a deckhand on a gangway. Inside the room was a round table, rather different from the ones in the rectory. It was clearly quite old. It was full of pockmarks and dents. Some parts of it were shiny, but others were quite dull. Various mismatched chairs were haphazardly placed around the table as well. There was a couple next to a fireplace at the far end of the room. Are these chairs mismatched? They looked relatively matched to me. There are no windows. Currently light was being provided by the hearth, as well as a large candelabra in the corner nearest the door. Well, here we are. Hello, Hedwig. Hello, dear. Welcome, welcome! There were two other figures I could see tending to the fire. The smaller one on the left introduced was Flora. The one on the right, unfortunately. Angela! Okay. Those present in the Misericorde tonight were... aside from Hedwig, were Catherine, Margaret, Charity. I keep spelling Margaret wrong for some reason. Flora and Angela. Oh, and Adela. Angela! Goodness, it's been a while since I've seen you in here. Yes, well, some of us have better things to do than spend every possible night reveling. Oh good, we're getting prickly before any drinks have been poured. It should be fun. Give it a rest, you two. Surely you can be nice to each other for one night. Of course. We wouldn't want to leave Hedwig with the wrong impression, would we? I agree. We can't leave her without recognizing what a shrew you could be. Catherine! But I was agreeing with Sister Angela. Can we at least call the temporary truce? For Hedwig's sake. I'm willing. Why are you even here? Now you're just being childish. No, just curious. Are you intending to spoil things for the newcomer? Am I spoiling things currently? Here we go. You're very good at this game. Now, hell! I jumped. It barely registered with me at first that this exasperated growl had come from Sister Charity. You're both as bad as each other. Stop it for one night. If you can bicker on your own time, but me and everyone else here are to have a nice, relaxing evening. And you're bloody well not going to ruin it. Sit down, shut your gobs, drink, and make merry. Or else. Oh, Charity. Alright. Catherine and Angela immediately get into it. Which causes Charity to admonish them, I guess, yeah? Admonish is fine. It's not strong enough, but admonish is fine. A lot of dots in here. It's lovely to see you here, Hedwig. I smiled. I wasn't as rattled as I probably should have been. And maybe it was Darcy's concoction. Or perhaps seeing Catherine and Angela at each other's throats had awoken a slightly unsavory sense of curiosity within me. I'm happy to be here. That's good. This will be fun. Right, Catherine? That's right. must admit, even with my newfound courage, and despite how amusing it was watching us spar with Catherine, Angela's presence made me slightly uneasy. Since only half of the sisters could occupy the Misericorde, I'd been hoping, perhaps assuming, given her personality, that the odds of missing her were in my favor. Alas, alas. Marta and I brought up some of the good wine earlier, and I believe Darcy is cooking something specially for the meal. The meal? We just ate. It'll be a bit later on. Besides, you'll want some. I should resist, but the call of red meat is too strong. I opened my mouth to protest. The rule of St. Benedict strictly prohibited red meat, before I remembered that in this room the rule had no say. A touch circuitous, if I must say so myself. The rule states that nothing should be preferred over the Holy Office, the works we did and the hours we observed, and yet here this place was, offering a sanctuary for everyone to do nothing but prefer worldly things. At this point I'd lost count of all the infractions this abbey had made on the rule of St. Benedict. Poor Darcy, she's really very busy, isn't she? I think Eustace or Moira is helping tonight. And it's a bit less complicated than supper. It's just meat and heat, more or less, isn't it? I'm sure there's an art to it, as there is all things. Wise as always. Let's see. Margaret and Catherine talk about how Darcy will be preparing some red meat for them to eat later. Charity then ushered me to sit down at the table. There were several mugs and a very large wineskin resting in the middle of the table. There was also a full cask next to the table, on the floor, that I had not noticed previously. It was a little smaller than the fat barrels I had seen stacked in the cellar, but nevertheless, that's a lot of wine. And thank God for that. We have plenty of us here to help finish it, don't you worry. Yes, and don't feel like you need to drink at all. I'll have what she doesn't have. You're going to watch yourself. I won't hear the end of it from the Superior if you lose your head. If you go on a bender. Margaret patted Charity on the shoulder and then took a seat. I could see a shelf in the corner of the room near the fireplace. It was rather unkempt and loaded with various mismatched objects. I could see books of different sizes stacked haphazardly atop each other, little chess pieces and a lute fighting for space. There were bits of fabric and what looked like a full robe stuffed in between these little bits and bobs as well. So are there any plans for the evening? I hope not. Wait, I hope not. A little bit of everything, my dear. But most importantly, a lot of nothing. That's the idea, anyway. I see. I've done a lot of nothing by myself in my cell. I missed it dearly, but I was curious what these women found so exciting about it. That's the best of any holiday, isn't it? Doing nothing. You're not wrong, dear Flora, but don't tell the Superior I said so. Catherine picked up the wineskin and began depositing drink into the cups. And then the crew get to drink in. Now, make sure your elders get some before it's gone. I wouldn't dream of depriving you, Charity. Catherine handed her the next mug. That's right. Catherine is always grateful to not be the eldest in the room. Damn! That was actually quite good. I was merely surprised that Angela was able to come up with something so witty. I'll pull me one next. I got the feeling I'm going to need it. Just a small one for me to start, I think. Nonsense! She handed me a full mug. So are you going in strict order of age? She must be. I haven't gotten to drink yet. Hedwig is younger than I am, so no. Bold of you to admit. Not as biting the second time. Charity got hers first, because she is our beloved and respected elder. Margaret got second, since she asked so nicely. Hedwig was next, because she's a new guest, and would have been second if Margaret hadn't requested her forcefully. Sorry, Hedwig. No offense taken. Next, I don't know, why not Adela? There you are. I very graciously will go last, as I am pouring the drinks. Which leaves Flora and Angela, which... let's see. I will give Flora hers first, to prove once and for all that I am not discriminating against her youth. I only hope that Angela will accept this decision and not see it as a slight against her. I assure her there is no such ulterior motive. Can you please just give us the fucking wine? Language! She finished pouring the drinks and passed them to Flora and Angela, neither of whom looked particularly amused. Margaret was thoroughly enjoying herself, though. Thank you. Uh-huh. Yeah, indeed. Now, Hedwig, tell us what you think of this wine. It's a fair bit nicer than the stuff we typically have throughout the day. It has a nice flavor. I took a tentative sip, and was surprised to find that I recognized the taste instantly. Oh, I've had this before, actually. Wow. Oh, dear. Couldn't say, actually. But I'm sure someone must have brought it to me with a meal at some point. Perhaps on Christmas. Oh, yes. Sounds like something Catherine II might do. She knew her wines, that one. She knew more about it than most here do, yes? Are you and Marta still fighting about the sherry? I came here to do a job. I have nothing against Sister Marta, but I wish she would let me do it. I know. Can't do anything about that, though. Adela huffed and nodded, sipping her drink. This is good. Not as good as I could help make, but it is very good. What's different about sherry, Sister Adela? Don't get us started. It's a better fermentation process. The end product is sweeter. That's hard to believe given what I tasted. I mean, I do believe you, just, it should not be tasted halfway through being made. Does the painter show their client their work before they are painted a face? Does the chef deliver a half-cooked meal? She's got a point. Of course, I'm just impressed. I was asked to come here and help shepherd a batch of sherry. The first one was a complete disaster because instructions were not followed. Now I am trying to correct this with the second batch, and I am facing the same resistance. Marta is very protective of her work. I think she does not like me. I think she does not want some Iberian dirtying up her project. She stuck her finger into her drink and violently wiggled it around to emphasize her point. I had to duck to dodge flecks of wine. I promise you it isn't as bad as all that. She's just... I think it might exactly be as bad as that. She has no other reason to get in my way. She treats me like a child too. Might just be an age thing. Very much doubt it. She does not see me as Spanish! Margaret, does anyone treat you any differently than anyone else? Marta doesn't treat you as anyone else, does she? Oh, crumbs. That's fine. There's just... that if I say no, I might not actually indicate what you're hoping it does. Charity looks as if she were trying to decode a particularly difficult puzzle. Margaret smiled, perhaps humorously, and sipped her drink. Have you seen any more ghosts, Hedwig? Ghosts? No, I'm not. I feel like the ghost duck around here has dropped significantly recently. Hedwig's ghost-hating swordsman excluded, of course. Let's see here. We got a sense of everyone's ages, I guess. Catherine is one of the younger ones here. Let's see. They discuss, Adela complains about Marta and the sherry and suggests that Marta doesn't see her as properly Spanish. Charity asks, because of her race, I guess, her ethnicity. Charity asks, Margaret, if Marta has indicated anything of the sort to her. But Margaret says she can't say no without it being misleading. Thank goodness for that. It's all rubbish. The topic switches to ghosts. Oh, I don't know about that. You don't get to be my age without seeing a few queer things here and there. Why, just look at this room, and we're all queer. I've seen some ghosts. There's at least one on this floor alone, I reckon. Yes! I have heard them too. It's a shame Darcy isn't here. She always has plenty to say on this subject. We can ask her when she brings the beef. Perhaps out in the hole where the rest of us won't be subject to such nonsense. I seem to recall someone asking for an escort to the privy at night just in case she encountered something. That's just common wisdom. That has nothing to do with spirits or fairies or any such fantasy. She doesn't believe in them. But Catherine points out that she needed an escort to the privy once at night. The bears are strange men. Bears? Yes, bears. There are bears around here. No? It claims it's common sense. There are bears and strange men. There are no bears in the area. Absolutely not. Not that I've ever seen. I've seen a bear up close once. That was before I ended up here. I have too. They're very cute, but quite dangerous. At any rate, there are no bears anywhere near here. They don't live in England. Or Scotland. Or Ireland. I cannot believe I'm being treated like a fool for worrying about bears, whilst you're all entertaining the notion of ghosts wandering the halls. Well, if they don't live here. Not naturally, of course, but kings and nobles and other rich men keep them for sport. They import them from Bohemia. So you think some nobleman's going to stick a bear on you while you're on your way to the toilet? You're trying far too hard to make me sound hysterical. Bears are strong and crafty creatures. One could easily slip loose and escape into the woods. It only takes two to proliferate. You cannot tell me this has not happened. There's something incredibly funny about Angela seriously believing, like she's just like seriously like very worried that bears have started procreating in the wild because noble, like, she's not wrong, this is a thing that could happen, but it's just very funny. There was nothing but silence for a moment. Then suddenly everyone erupted with laughter. Bears! Proliferating! Watch out! And they cannot stand women pissing at night. Grow up. You must admit, Angela, it sounds a bit ridiculous. Far-fetched, at least. It is nonsense. Angela, I'm surprised. I had no idea you were worried about this. Well, I apologize for not wanting to risk being torn in half by a vicious beast or violated by some murderous cur at night. After all, only half of those things have happened here, so why worry about either? Angela. This leads to talking about, strange men. About, the murder. Angela. Not in here. No? I think there's no better place to talk about it. Silence came back. This time it felt like the very air had been sucked out of the already stuffy room. Everyone was looking in different directions. I could hear heavy, deep breaths. Time for meat! Time for meat! With the meat. Ardella stood up first and strode over to the door, unlatching it and holding it open so that Darcy could lumber in carrying a massive platter of food. Everyone sort of shuffled awkwardly to move the cups and wineskin out of the way. Darcy plunked the platter down and dusted her hands off with a satisfied expression on her face. You have beef and lamb and a bit of pork here, coated in a special sauce and cooked to perfection over a roaring fire by yours truly. Why is everybody so glum? We're just hungry, Darcy, thank you. Darcy's nigh-impervious smile flickered just a little. Alright then. Well, enjoy. Aren't you going to have some? I'm not allowed. Not outside of the Misericorde now, but you're here now. Even seeing Darcy's mouth twitch was heartbreaking enough that I felt compelled to do whatever I could to make her feel better. Luckily, she took my logic quite well. I suppose I am, aren't I? There are too many people in here. Oh, for Pete's sake, Angela. You go and stand outside while she eats then. Angela's chair scraped violently against the stone floor. I couldn't help but wince. She can stay. Have a good night, everyone. Which sends everyone into silence. When asks if she will eat any, Darcy says she's not allowed. But then Hedwig says she can as long logics her way into saying, provides the logic that Darcy is inside the Misericorde and can thus eat. Let's see. Angela protests that there are too many people. Charity, and rather than argue, she decides to leave. She can stay. Have a good night, everyone. A touch dramatic, Sister Angela. Hedwig? Yes, Sister Angela? Nothing. Not now. I won't spoil your evening. Before she leaves, she considers telling Hedwig something, but decides not to spoil the evening. Her evening. With that, she swept herself out of the room. All eyes turned to Darcy, who was blissfully munching on a small piece of meat hanging off a bone. Getting right into it. Alright, Darcy. I couldn't possibly say sorry. Busy tonight. She finished her snack and then licked her fingers. Enjoy. Have a good night, Darcy. Indeed. Darcy excused herself from the room. Margaret followed behind her to latch the door shut again and then turned around to face the rest of the sisters. Well... Should one of us flag Eustace down, perhaps? She's busy tonight. Hedwig and I stopped in on her on the way here. Marta's probably asleep by now. Well, it's one of those two. Or the soup. Can you imagine? Where is Moira? Where is Moira at the moment? I believe she's usually in the library or reading in her dorm at this hour. She'll be in her dorm then. Eustace seemed in no mood for visitors. Flora, would you be a dear? I just started eating. I'm only asking you to go down the hall. The food will still be there when you get back. Will it? I've seen you not eat before. No! Darcy leaves anyway. After eating a snack. As she has things to do. They decide to fetch Moira to join them. with Flora being forced to go. Cheeky little. I'm going. This is certainly not as relaxing as I'd like to believe. That being said, I was still feeling surprisingly confident. I think perhaps I was even finding some relief in the fact that this particular spat had unfolded without me at the center of it. In fact, I was barely involved in the kerfuffle at all. Gertie forced a smile. Well, best not to let things get cold. There was a murmur of approval among the others. We all moved our chairs slightly closer to the overflowing platter of sugared meat. I do not understand why Angela is so cruel. I am positive she has gotten worse as well. She's always been an insufferable coxcomb. Must we drag it all out? She's left. No use quarreling with someone who's not even here. To be fair, Charity, Hedwig is here because Angela overheard you two grousing about her. Yes. Well, that's different. It's not fair you get to have all the fun. I was under the impression that Angela wanted to come tonight to apologize to Hedwig for her behavior. That does seem a bit far-fetched. No, it's true. I apologized to her for my outburst, and she agreed to apologize to Hedwig for her roughness. Is that true, Sister Charity? Charity says that, and she expected that Angela had apologized. That Angela was supposed to be here to apologize to Hedwig for her rudeness earlier. It did stretch credulity, but I was curious. Angela's barbed words had been wrapped around me so tightly, even the slightest bit of slack was relief. Of course. On condition that you also apologize, I think. Fresh start for all of us. I have nothing to apologize to that woman for. Well, not a thing. But if she wants to make an apology, I'm obliged to hear what she has to say and do my best to make amends. Catherine's upper lip curled harder than I'd ever seen it curve before. She will hang whatever complaint you had over your head the rest of your life, apology or no. Believe me, I've been there. Really? Oh yes. I've done that song and dance for her. She just enjoys watching people squirm. How cruel. She wasn't always like this. I do not care. It is true, though. It's a shame. What happened? I knew things might look a little different. Catherine is not so confident that Angela would let it all lie. Let what lie? I forgot the phrase. Jesus. Leave things be. Even if they made up. The others suggest that Angela was not always like this. It has certainly gotten worse since Catherine II passed on. That's true for all of us. And she got along with Angela worse than I do. It was difficult to imagine, but it was very interesting indeed. Why is that? It's actually a bit funny. I remember them getting along very well, to be honest. They were friendly at one point, but I mostly remember them clashing. So Hedwig, I'd mentioned to you before that Catherine II loves foisting projects and hobbies on us. I remember. Well, for a while it was... Shall we say this? For a while it was body literature. God damn it. Catherine and Angela used to get on quite well. Although they did fight a lot. Says that Angela got along with Catherine worse than her. Margaret says that Catherine tried to introduce them all to smut. What? Bablio, as it were. You mean love poems? Romantic writing? No. Well, perhaps. Have you really never read any? I'm afraid I've had nothing quite so ribald in my cell. Ribald? They could certainly be romantic, although I think they're more concerned with the roots of romance. A particular part of romance. The intercourse. The fucking. I nearly choked on the bit of lamb I was eating. Shh! You were all reading that sort of thing here! Oh dear. Her wheels are coming off. It's really quite common for monks to write the sort of thing. Helps ease tensions, I suppose. The monks write the yaoi? And Catherine the Second thought, why not us? It might be healthy exercise. For what purpose? For the fun of it? Purely for the thrill. God knows we're not allowed to have any fun here. That's not true. Not that kind. Hedwig dearie, it really is not that strange. After a few more weeks here, you'll probably realize just how little there is to do. It was something new and entertaining the girls are interested in. Well, I understand. But fornicatio autem et omnis immunditia aut avaritia nec nominator in vobis sicut decet sanctus. Yes, we've studied a bit of the Bible here and there, actually. I just don't see how writing that sort of thing is appropriate for women of our station. The sisters all looked at each other with slightly concerned expressions. The confidence I'd brought into the room with me was rapidly draining. I felt like I'd accidentally cast myself as an outsider to be scorned once again. Well, we endeavored to keep most of it in here. It is the Misericorde, after all. We're eating red meat. The rule of Saint Benedict might wane in here, but it sounds more like purely biblical instructions being broken. Hedwig, the gentlest and most pious monks I have ever had the pleasure of working with years and years ago now, used to write beer recipes in the margins of his Bibles. And I remember meeting him for the first time, delivering food to a village that had come down with a plague. He told the most outrageous jokes I'd ever heard in my life. I could hardly walk from laughing. All the while risking ourselves to help the diseased and dying. Do we deserve hell for a few body japes? Well, this was not an argument worth having. Depends on the jokes, I would think. Everyone else laughed. I was stunned by Catherine's ability to say the exact words I wanted to say, with the exact opposite meaning. Welcome in the dozen, how's it going? Hope you're having a good one. Hedwig is affronted by this. But Charity brings up, talks about how the most generous and pious monk she ever met told the most bawdry jokes. Dinner, alright, gonna lurk while I work out? Alright, have a good one. I don't know if stream's gonna last particularly that much longer, but, you know, you're welcome to hang out while it does go. But thank you again for dropping by. Hope you enjoy your workout. Oh, tell us one. Yes, go on. Well, alright. As long as Hedwig is quite alright with it. I smiled meaninglessly. I felt like a bear showing off my teeth. Please, don't hold back on my account. A trial by fire for dear Hedwig. Very well, here it is. He told me about a nun he had worked with before, who had been a midwife, much like myself. Before she joined her convent, she had been assisting her lady with a particularly tough birth. The poor thing just could not get out. The midwife took a look between her lady's legs, and the lady said, "Oh, what if it comes out the other hole?" I forget which road my husband took. Oh, that's good. The others erupted in raucous laughter. Catherine was practically doubled over. Don't get it. Think about it. What do roads have to do with it? They typically come out of it, you know. Yes, that much I know, thank you. Actually, wasn't sure you would, so that's a relief. Is that in the Bible? I am capable of a fair amount of deduction on my own. I may have spent a long time in a cell, but I'm not a complete fool. That's fair, that's fair. So you know a rough outline of how all that works? Yes. Well, there you go then. All the pieces are within your grasp. So... Oh no. She got there! How does... Why? Does that work? No, that is the joke. So the joke is that her husband was quite stupid and... Well, that's very possible, but that's not the thrust of it, no. Think harder, Sister Hedwig. I was rescued by the sound of the door swinging open. Found her. Hello, everyone! You lot ate all that while I was gone? There is still plenty of food. What took you so long? Couldn't find her. Sorry for giving you the runaround. I ran into Darcy and was chatting with her, and then I went for a walk in the garden. Let's see. Body? I don't know. Charity tells one. Tells a butt sex joke. Which, Hedwig... which Hedwig doesn't quite get. The others lead her towards the joke. Or towards the punchline. But they're interrupted by the arrival of Flora and Moira. Could Angela not make it? Wait, could Angela not make it? Could Angela not make it? She got her fill of the attention she wanted. Let's not get back into it. No, I could talk about it all night. That's the problem. Fair enough. Well, now that we're back up to fight and strength, what do we do? What to do? Should we play a game? I can't do Moira's voice at the same time as other people's voices. It just doesn't work. I just lose it every time. I would love to play some chess. Later. I'm not feeling particularly strategic yet. She reached for the wineskin and poured herself a generous refill. I'll get there, I'm sure. Well, since Angela isn't here to complain about them any longer. How about some ghost stories? You like that, Hedwig? Right. While navigating through my personal doldrums for the past few days, I'd completely forgotten what my reputation among the sisters currently was. Not only was I a mousy, prudish, trembling little creature, an estimation I could at least agree with, I had stumbled into giving off the impression of a spirit-chasing prankster. It did not suit me. I think it'll suit you just fine in the future. Catherine suggests telling ghost stories now that Angela is not around. Oh, hell. Oh no, they give me the shivers. That's the point. Precisely. I will tell you all my story. Oh. What should we talk about? Why? I never remember how her voice goes. What should we talk about this? I was hoping we could all talk about something a little more fun. Oh, but this is fun. Oh dear. It was just this summer that I decided to take in some fresh air atop the Abbey wall. I wandered through the halls I was not familiar with, trying to find the stairs. All alone in a mysterious portion of the Abbey, I found the door I was looking for. And I saw the tail end of another's robe in front of me. Let's see. She was atop the Abbey wall. Adela tells her story. Much to Moira's dismay. Was lost looking for some stairs in the abbey when she caught sight of a robe in front of her. I pursued the unknown figure, but when I emerged into the light of day, there was not a soul to be seen. But when they got to the light, there was nothing to be seen. Huh. Fascinating. This is in broad daylight. The sun blinded you. This does seem a touch flimsy. I know what I saw. At first, the person was there, and then that person was not there. What a terrible ghost story. Oh, is it? And perhaps you would like to share a better one. Sure. I've got one. I gotta turn on the lights, hold on. Uh-oh. Oh, this is a good, a thumbnailish picture. Oops. I saw someone outside the Superior's window late at night. That's all, I guess. There's no one else in the room. Just a creepy figure in the bushes. Does that really count as a story? It absolutely does not. No panache whatsoever. I forgot to mention that they had horns. And really scary glowing eyes. Oh no! Oh no! That's a little scarier. Maybe build a little suspense first though. Whatever. I think adding those details just makes the story more unbelievable. Why were you at the Superior's office at night, Flora? Yeah, speaking of unbelievable details, that door looks tight. And how would you know that? Unimpressed by the story. Laura is unimpressed by the story. And is coaxed, egged coaxed into telling her own. She saw a figure outside the window of the Superior's office. That's it. Also, it had horns and scary glowing eyes. They ask her how she was in the Superior's office when it was locked up tight. When it is locked up tight. Look, she took my charcoal away because I was scribbling with it during service, okay? Enough. Let me weave you all a tale of true terror. Says she... Says her charcoal was taken away. Because she was doodling during service. Let me weave you all a tale of true terror. Look out, everyone! Who's gonna tell us how old she really is? Laura, be nice. Some of us were saving that exact joke for whenever Charity spoke up next. Oh no, I'm not too proud to be honest about my age. I'm 65 and quite happy with my station. Let's just write this down in case this matters. Probably not. Of course. Well, I can always wait until Marta tries to tell a ghost story. We have a rough estimate for her, at least. Marta was probably here when the white ship sank. Everyone else guffawed. I might have joined in to be nakedly truthful. but now my tale. I was approaching these very doors late one night. I'd been for a nighttime stroll, and the torches had just been lit. The wind was such that they kept flickering. It was tough to see, and strange shadows danced across the floor. Suddenly, I realized that one of the shadows in front of me was no shadow at all. And not only that, I swear to you that when I bravely took one step forward, I saw the face of death himself! This is what you saw. Alright. He was out on a nighttime stroll, heading back, and heading down the hall near the Misericorde. Then from the shadows, she saw a figure that she says was Death himself. Well, have I sufficiently rattled you all? Not bad. Masterful, Sister Catherine. I cannot pretend otherwise. When was this, Catherine? I don't know the exact date. A month, perhaps 2 months ago. That might have been me. Wait, that might have been me. What? Let's see. What's her name? Moira asks when this happened. And after Catherine says roughly a month ago, Moira says it might have been her. What? Impossible. I do seem to remember running... wait. Okay, her voice. What's her voice? I do seem to remember running into you in the hall one night when the torches were flickering in the wind like that. If that is true. Why didn't you say hello? I tried, but you'd already run away. Fancy that. That's not... No, I think this was probably a different night. Well, that's the most believable one yet. Aside from mine. You've been a bit quiet, Hedwig. Do you have a good one to share? No, well, I've just been so captivated by all of yours so far. Hedwig's ghost story is what I won't soon forget, though. She conjures up quite an image. An excellent skill for a chronicler. Wait, an excellent skill for a chronicler. I don't know, I just can't do it when other characters are around. An excellent skill for a chronicler. Too right. It's nothing really. I hope none of them had read into my actual, decidedly sparse writing yet. Well, if Hedwig is passing. Margaret. Hedwig's heard mine. I was helping clean up the kitchen one evening. Darcy had finished up, but there was a pot I wanted to give a good scouring before putting it away. So there I was alone in the workshop when I heard a strange sound. The light had started to fade, and I hadn't thought to bring a candle. The fading light of dusk through the window was all I had. I crept toward where I thought I heard the sound. I saw a pair of eyes. Not only that, there was another creature present as well. One with a terrible visage. All I could make out was a hideous maw and some truly evil eyes. I hightailed it out of there, I have to confess. Goodness, that is an upsetting story. Margaret tells the story she already told Hedwig about seeing strange eyes and a mouth in the workshop late at night. In the kitchen. Well, I guess kitchen. Let's say kitchen. Crumbs! I frowned. Margaret had told me a variation of this story in the chapel. It seemed to be gathering some embellishments for this larger audience. What do you think you saw? Hedwig notes internally that the story seems to have been embellished since the last telling. Well, if I had to hazard a guess, perhaps two demons having a meeting of some sort. A meeting? About? I don't know. Perhaps they were arguing about who to eat first. No! How gruesome. Now you're having it on. Maybe. But I did see them. That much is true. The one with the big horrible teeth. That could have been a Barghest. A what? Big dog? The big dog? That's the one, though dog isn't quite an apt description. It's a truly terrible creature that haunts old fields and old moors. Always stalking around and hunting people who wander late at night. It's not quite a hound, more of a... I don't rightly know. Mix of a dog and a goblin, perhaps. Like something out of Inferno. I can only hope that you didn't get a good look at him, Margaret. And why's that? Well, they say if you see him, you're destined to die. Well, I'm not worried. Harry suggests that what Margaret saw, might have been a Barghest. They say if you see it too clearly, you're destined to die. Well, I'm not worried. No, is that? Because I made it all up, you daft old bat. My eyebrows shot straight up, but Charity didn't seem to mind. Ah! Lost the voice already. But Charity didn't seem to mind. The whole room erupted with cackling. Oh, that cheek on you lot. And that counts as your ghost story, I take it? Of course it does. That was effective? My goodness. Suppose that means it's Moira's turn. Really? Well, I'd have to think. Something often said before believable stories. Look who's talking. I'd been waiting for an opportunity to jump into the conversation more actively. I'd been worried that my relative silence was conspicuous. The banter between the sisters had been so acerbic that I thought my contribution would fit right in. Fortunately, it seems that I missed the mark. Huh? Because, yours is really short and... Okay. Damn it, Hedwig. She may as well have sucked me in the gullet. I looked around at the others, who seemed to have barely registered our exchange at all. Presumably, they were all opting to remember this embarrassing outburst forever. Something to gossip about, the way they had about Angela earlier. I was often unsure about who I was exactly, without the purpose to find myself by myself. As an anchoress, I knew exactly what I was meant to do and where I fit into the world. Removed from the cell, I was utterly blind. I tried new attitudes and mimicked behaviors to find something that fit me. But all I could do, could hope to amount to, was being someone else's private joke. I do have a story to tell, actually. I think it might count. Do tell. Well, one night, as I was walking past the cloister, and a little bit of gravel worked its way into my shoe. The gravel had worked its way... A bit of gravel had worked its way into her shoe while she was walking near the cloister. Terrifying. Let the woman finish, Flora. It's no problem. I stopped to fish the little rock out of my shoe. Leaned it against the wall, and when I looked down, I realized there were some odd footprints along the path. Odd how? Well, they were not human footprints. They were small and pointed. Pointed? Yes, like hoofs. Anyway, the footprints continued away from the cloister. I made to follow them, but then saw a strange figure hunched in the doorway. He turned around and his eyes flashed in the moonlight. I was scared witless and ran all the way up the stairs to my room. she looked down, she saw pointed footprints, like hooves. Footprints. Pointed like hooves. I didn't see the figure in the back, or I didn't see anything at all. Following them. Following them, came across a figure in the with glowing glowing eyes. Did she say glowing eyes, or am I just making that up? Alright. Like Oogie Boogie? She ran away. I was scared witless and ran all the way up the stairs to my room. Maybe. That's strange. Darcy does occasionally bring the sheep up to the cloister to keep the grass short, though. There's only one set of footprints, though. Maybe they walk in single file. Maybe. That's probably it. Don't let the Kremlin get to you, Moira. It was a fine story. And I know it wasn't very gripping. Well, but... Well, how delightfully frightful that was. Everyone raised the cups. I followed suit, although I could not keep up with the others when they proceeded to chug the contents of the drinks. Here, here. Catherine, would you mind topping me up? We continued to eat, chat, and drink for a long while. The food was delicious. The wine did a decent job of making me feel warm and pleasant enough to set any worries about my conversational skills aside, too. What was starting to worry me, however, was the matter of how to approach Catherine about James, the stable boy, without raising suspicions. I would like to play a game. No, thank you. You cheat anyway. Hedwig, I forget. Do you know how to play? Oh, Against my better judgment, I gambled. I haven't been learning, now that you mention it. The superior had been teaching me. Oh, has she now? Lucky you. Well, I think it's a way of acclimating me to things outside of the cell. Everyone here talks about chess so much. More than likely, it's her mea culpa for dragging you out of there. I tried to remain calm, but I was gripping my seat so hard I could hear my fingers pop. No, it was my decision to leave. Oh? I just felt it was the right thing to do. The big lie. The topic of chess comes up. And Hedwig says that the superior has been teaching her. When Catherine correctly guesses that it's the superior's way of making up for dragging Hedwig out of her cell, Hedwig lies and says it was her choice. The superior explained to me that the Abbey was in desperate need of a chronicler, and that it would be much quicker than sending word around the country. So, deep down, you always wanted out of that horrible little cell. It wasn't horrible. I had to correct myself immediately. I had to stick to my story. But yes, I suppose I did. I understand that to most people, lying comes easily. People do it to stay out of trouble or to make themselves look stronger or wiser or more interesting to each other. It's a sin, but such is the way of this wicked world. But you must understand that when I was an Anchoress, I told a single lie. Here in the Misericorde committed to the Superior's conspiracy, every falsehood felt like I was spitting a burr out of my mouth. You were quite a mess when I first saw you in there. Well, I wasn't dressing for an audience then, was I? Everyone chuckled. I was quickly learning that making people laugh was the fastest way to steer away from the topics I didn't want to talk about. Your frock's still a bit big for you, I have to say. I think it looks nice. Wait, I think it looks nice. It looks cozy all the time. So, Hedwig. Yes? Go on then. Adela beamed at me and got up to retrieve the chessboard and pieces from the shelf. A still ample platter of meat was pushed to the side of the table to make up space. One of the wineskins came dangerously close to falling to the floor before Catherine caught it. That'd be a waste. 2, right? Told me up. The board was set up, save for 2 pieces. Adela approached me with her hands balled up in fists and held them out to me. Which hand? Why not let her go first? Give her the white pieces. She's new here and our guest about. Nonsense. This is part of the game. Let's see. Your right hand? Adela opened her right hand to reveal a black pawn nestled in her palm. Black it is. Oh, unlucky. The change in music tripped me out. Yeah, this game has a lot of music changes. Not at all. Someone must strike first, but that is not necessarily an advantage. When Carboga struck at Antioch, he still tasted defeat. Yes, of course. How could any of us forget Carboga? Hiram al-Dalwa Carboga wrote to Antioch with his men after hearing of the Christian siege. Wait, so didn't the Christians go first then? I think we're dividing very specific battles up into individual chess games here. The crux of the matter is that Sister Hedwig will suffer no disadvantage going second. Needless to say, Adela trounced me. I felt confident for a move or two, but it became quite clear quite quickly that I was out of my depth. Adela and Hedwig play chess. Hedwig plays black. And Hedwig is thoroughly trounced. I think that was not bad for a beginner. You got her in, what, 20 moves? You got her in, what, 20 moves? 20 moves? I don't know what voice that was. That is better than I would expect from a player who learned only what chess is a week or so ago. That's a good point. Hedwig, walk me through your strategy. I don't really know, to tell you the truth. I was mostly just reacting to your moves. Is that so? That should explain it. Really now? If you're only reacting to me, it is no wonder I won. That would follow, I suppose. I am setting the pace of the whole game. Eventually you must make your own move. You must force me to react to you. So we just act and react back and forth until someone wins. I believe that is the game, yes? Catherine? Yes, Hedwig. Because we are not competing to see who can make the best single decision. Chess is not just competing to see who can survive the most moves, but to see whose strategy can adapt and overcome everything your opponent throws at you. Two souls locked in a complicated and deadly dance. Pure romance. So I've heard you say. It's very interesting. Thank you. Hedwig, would you mind if I played around? Watching you has got me in the mood to play. Yes, of course. A fine idea. Rotating chairs. Who can stay as in the victor's seat the longest? I can guess. You're welcome to challenge me as well, Sister Flora, if you feel you deserve to dethrone me. Flora rolled her eyes as I got up off my seat to Moira. The tight group that had formed around the table to watch Adela and I play scattered somewhat. Margaret walked over to the shelf to peruse the entertainment on offer, and Catherine sat down closer to the fireplace. She brought a wineskin with her and poured herself another cup as soon as she was situated. I craned my neck over Charity's shoulder, trying to watch Moira and Adela's game. Found myself surprisingly eager to learn some new tips. However, I was quickly interrupted by Catherine calling from across the room. Hedwig, have a drink with me. Oh, yes, of course. Moira and Adela start to play, and Catherine calls Hedwig over to chat by the fireplace. I put up a chair next to her as soon as she poured me a cup of wine. Oh, good thumbnail. There we are. That's good stuff. It's very flavorful. It's made here, you know. It's the only reason this wretched place exists. The only reason. Surely that's not true. Hobbies are a source of wine and money. An absolution for people willing to give them money. Believe me, I'm well acquainted with how these places really work. You and I are very similar, if you can believe it. I do apologize if I've ever made you feel lesser than some of the others. Not at all. I was once like you, alone and confused in a place very different from what I was used to. Of course, you left your position by choice, but nonetheless, I could not correct her, especially as this topic had nearly bubbled over very recently. But I wanted to, desperately. I, on the other hand, was ripped from a perfectly comfortable life for a variety of unjust reasons. Was brought here, but, against her will. You were forced to become a nun. That's not right. I mean, I would choose no other life for myself, but my goodness, you really were locked away for a long time. That is quite common, even if my particular circumstances are astoundingly unfair. It's a very easy way for a family to get rid of a woman they're not fond of. I was once the lady of a great house, which came, of course, with certain nasty politics of its own. In that aspect, it was not all that different from living here. Really? The politicking, just the politicking. The clothes, the jewels, the freedom. I would put up with the ghastly parlor games to have all that back. I wasn't sure what politicking at the Abbey she was referring to, but this was no time to get hung up on details. So what happened? If you don't mind me asking. A rich family. Stepped on some of the wrong toes in high society. Put some noses out of joint and was accused of some unsavory things I'd rather not repeat. And I was offered the choice of facing the court in a likely execution, or taking the vows. Chose the latter. Into trouble that would lead, force her to make a choice between possible execution or taking the vows. At least I can still grab onto the barest threads of life's greatest pleasures here occasionally. She took a deep sip of her drink. That just isn't right. A criticism of the church. Goodness will make a sea dog of you yet. I didn't say that. But if this happens often, it does sound like some people abuse the concept of the monastery. You know, I think shuffling people out of sight might be the concept of the monastery. Oh no, that can't be true. Monasteries do wonderful things. They're centers of prayer, research, rigorous academic study, and we help those in need. It's an important calling. Do we do any of that here? How many people in need of help, do we help all the way up on this hill? There isn't another village for miles, and the fine folk of Linborough would have to trek up a mountain to get here. Perhaps Linborough Tor Abbey is more of a monastery for prayer and learning and so on. Present company excluded, of course, but I don't think much earnest prayer emanates from these halls. Hedwig is affronted by this seeming habit of the church, but Catherine suspects that this is what monasteries are for. Or at least, that's what this one is for. Nor do I think we are likely to be responsible for any academic or scholarly pursuits of note anytime soon. Catherine II would have argued otherwise, of course. He desperately wanted all of us to have amusing little projects. She was constantly pursuing some sort of greatness, whether for herself or the whole Abbey. What did she want for you? She desperately wanted me to get me to act in one of her little performances. She said I had a natural disposition for it. Catherine believed otherwise. She says that Catherine tried to get, thought she was well suited to act in plays. Did you ever take her up on it? Once or twice. I did not hate it, but acting for an audience of just a few other nuns didn't give me much satisfaction. Still, that sounds very sweet. I would have liked to watch one of these performances. You're too sweet. Too kind. We'll beat that out of you eventually. She chuckled dryly and reached for the wineskin to pour herself another cup. Now that she's gone, the only product of note here is the wine. When Marta eventually pops it, grim I know, but I'm just being realistic. That'll be the last of any word this place had gone. When the wine dries up, so will we. Speaking of... She shook the wineskin and flipped it back and forth unceremoniously. Is that one dead? Goodness, you made me jump. Sorry. Just coming over to see if you wanted another. Oh, you're positively angelic. Margaret grinned ever so slightly and began pouring out much fuller-looking wineskin than the deflated lump Catherine was holding. I noticed that Catherine was beginning to look a little rosy in the cheeks. I felt dastardly even considering this, but if there was ever a time to ask her about James... Wonderful. You know, this reminds me. We haven't had a proper wake for Unbelievable! Flora was holding the platter of meat and staggering on one leg. She looked surprised that she had managed to catch the food at all. Chess pieces had clattered onto the floor all around the pair of players. Hedwig notices that Catherine is getting real tipsy at this point. But as she's about to broach the topic of James Foreman, Adela flips the table, the table with the chessboard, with the chess game. Adela looks furious. Moira, however, was clearly trying her hardest not to laugh out loud. Catherine, Margaret, and I hurried over to see what all the fuss was about. Oh, sorry, Adela. Adela, but it's true. What on earth did you do? She used underhanded tactics to try and eke out a pathetic victory. Oh, come now. Just playing normally. And how's that? She was taking every piece possible, whether it was logical to do so or not. Oh, here we go. Not another argument about bloody maiden's chess again. I wasn't trying to do anything malicious. I just captured a lot of pieces, I suppose. You captured every time it was remotely possible, even if it was not strategically important. Violence for the sake of violence. Total barbarism. Passionless, ugly brutality. Was it really every time it was possible? Was it really every time it was possible? Yes, do not pretend otherwise. Oh dear. Hand on heart, I promise I was not playing on my maiden's rules on purpose. I was just... eager. Eager to prove myself very good at chess. I thought that being aggressive would be my best strategy. I would hardly call that a strategy. You and Hedwig played just the same. Oh, there's one small difference. I won. She is annoyed that she lost to Moira's strategy of capturing every piece regardless of strategic importance. A raucous laughter went up from all of the sisters, except for Adela, who looked like she might... He's so mad. She might need to be physically restrained from leaping onto Moira, like one of the bears Angela was so worried about. I demand a rematch. A rematch where we understand we are playing the same game by the same rules. The rules of real chess, not this oafish perversion. If it'll make you happy. We all sat to work routing the table and find all the scattered pieces that had found their way across the room. Any requests? Margaret had managed to sneak up behind me as I was bent over picking up a wayward pawn. Sorry. She stood up and turned around to see her. I stood up and turned around to see her idly strumming a bulbous wooden instrument. I think it's about time for some music. Is there anything you'd like to hear? I bit my lip. I was not sure how to answer this question without sounding icier than I wanted to be at the moment. I was trying to make friends, not alienate anyone more than I had already had. Oh, silly question. My apologies. Well, not silly, I appreciate it. Just, you know, I really should have given you an instrument. They really should have given you an instrument in there. A flute, perhaps. I never felt like I needed one. Might have been fun, though. She started to pluck the strings and bobbing up and down, a slight grin emerging on her lips. She swayed side by side a little, but kept her eyes on me the whole time. Another silly question, but I may as well go for it. You do know what music is, right? Of course I do. I heard it occasionally as a little girl. And there's lots of mentions of it in the Bible. Joyful noise, yes? I'd be curious to know what you remembered from before you were interred, though. Well, I vaguely remember one about summer. Summer is ikumenin? That must be it. That's quite old. That's something Marta would have considered out of fashion. Well, I never claimed to have been a particularly fashionable child. Summer is ikumenin. Rude Sinkuku. Yes, that's the one. It's a fun one, won't you sing it? Oh no. Everyone, a little musical accompaniment for this clash of armies, yes? I flushed red as everyone turned to look at us. All the pieces had returned to the chessboard the sisters were crowded around, save for the pawn I held in my hand. Adela held open her hand and looked at me expectantly. Instinctively, I tossed it. She snatched it out of midair and gave a little smile as a cheer went up from around the room. Margaret played a single note. Perhaps it was the wine, or perhaps hearing everyone cheer for me. From my expert chess piece throw had gone to my head, but I did not protest. Let's see. Margaret pulls out the lute and asks Hedwig for any requests. She pulls out a song she remembered from childhood, and Margaret insists on a karaoke sesh. Instead, I don't know how the song goes. Groweth said and bloweth amid. Despite my initial bravery, I could feel myself turning redder and redder. However, once Margaret chimed in, the rest of the room did too. In short order, nearly everyone was singing along as Moira and Adela began the second game. I had no idea if I was anywhere close to the right tune or pitch, but it didn't matter. There was something intoxicating about hearing everyone together, loosely guided by Margaret's lute strings. The song lasted for several chess moves. When the song ended, everyone was clapping and laughing. Even Flora looked amused, her usual frown twisted into something like a smile. It's bloody winter, though. All the more reason for a summer tune. All the more reason for a summer tune. Hear, hear. Cups clunked together as everyone toasted. Moira's and Adela's game continued apace. Adela looked like frustration was getting the better of her again. Her moves began to feature loud punctuation. She was practically thrusting her pieces into the board. It also looked like playing with a different set of rules was making Moira take things more seriously. She looked thoughtful, and took to tending her fingers under her nose and leaning forward between turns. Even without Moira's using her old strategy, the amount of pieces was dwindling fast. Adela was certainly being more aggressive. She had navigated her queen into a domineering position on Moira's side of the board, close to her king. I think I have you. Huh. No. Moira slid her own queen further up the board to the side. That is of no help to you. Only a small handful of pawns remained on either side, save for each side's king and queen. Adela, however, seemed to be primed to deal a fatal blow. Moira had elected to move a queen further into the right-hand side of the board, presumably to pin Adela's king from afar. But it appeared as though she had moved the critical piece dangerously close to one of Adela's pawns. I think it might be. You've left your queen completely open to me. Well, not entirely. You still have to get a pawn in position to take her. Which I shall do! She slid the pawn next to Moira's queen with dramatic confidence. Are you even playing anymore? Perhaps I have bored you. No, just... I don't know how to put this. You can't take my queen. What do you mean? Of course I can. No, I don't think so. Moira carefully lifted her queen up and placed it back down on the board, directly diagonal to Adela's own advancing queen. What? I must ask again, are you even paying attention? However, a murmur of understanding has passed through the rest of the room. Adela, don't set me up like that. What on earth are you talking about? Are you paying attention? She gestured to the board, pointing at the relative position of her own king and queen and Adela's attacking queen. If you take my queen, my king can't move. I can't rightfully put him in check, can I? Of course not. Wait. Which would result in a stalemate. Is that correct? So perhaps we can agree to a draw? Of all the dirty tricks, Sister Moira, I am shocked. It wasn't a trick. Or rather, it's not like this was my plan. But you were playing really well. This is the only defense I could conjure up. Moira might as well have been pissing on Adela's food in front of her, the way Adela was glaring at her. So, draw? Yes, it's a draw. Alright. Moira and Adela's play a rematch, which Moira forces into a draw. Another chair went up around the room as Adela begrudgingly shook Moira's hand over the chessboard. Suppose that means both seats are open. Yes, I suppose so. She stood up sulkily and made for the wineskin that Catherine had left on her chair by the fireplace. Moira vacated a seat too, looking sheepish. Anyone want to take me on? Oh, go on then. I started to get a little worried I would never get a chance to corner Catherine, though at the very least her drinking was not slowing down. As long as I could get to her, I was certain I could get what I needed. The issue at this point seemed to be getting to her at all. Margaret was pacing about the room strumming a pleasant tune on her lute. I could see Flora reaching for a book on the corner shelf. However, when she brought it to a chair by the fireplace, she held it over her knee rather than open it to read. Margaret! With a wicked grin, Flora began to beat the book with her palms. A driving rhythm was created. It was one that Margaret clearly knew, as she immediately returned with a lute melody that fit snugly between Flora's makeshift drum beats. What is this song? Ah! Moira ran over to the shelf and retrieved a small wooden flute. Then a jam session starts. As soon as she had an opening, she began to play along with Margaret and Flora. The tune was wild and a little jagged, but it was one everyone in the new room seemed to know, save for me, of course. Catherine began swaying back and forth in her seat, and I could see Charity's head moving underneath her hood. Adela, however, was breaking into a full-on dance, jumping and twirling like a madwoman. I must admit, I was stymied. These people were unrecognizable, and I had no idea what to do. There was no way I was going to dance, and I wasn't particularly interested in getting another chess lesson from my betters. To avoid looking foolish, I did the one thing available to me, to feel like I'd belonged in the room. Drink! I was no stranger to wine. I had it with every meal, even when I was still an Anchoress. But this was a new experience. Nobody in the room was drinking to quench their thirst. They were all drinking for the sake of drinking, chasing a stupor that was expressly discouraged, if not outright forbidden, by all the texts of all of them and held sacred. What was I to do? I was conscious enough to understand this was not the time to proselytize. I closed my eyes briefly to pray that my transgressions would be understood. I was there to seek justice for a murdered woman. I was there to clear an innocent man's name. The songs kept going and going. It could have been one long shifting song for all I knew. I didn't recognize any of the tunes this makeshift band was playing, but all of them proved popular with the room. Found myself swaying along with the music without thinking. Adela made her way over to me and... I suppose the best description I can muster is that she began dancing at me. Adela begins to dance. To attempt to fit in with the party. Hedwig starts to drink more wine. Then Adela comes over. Start dancing at her. She got very close to my face. She bumped her hips against mine, almost knocking me over. I held my drink with both hands and held it in front of me like a shield. I had no idea how to dance alone, let alone with a partner. I don't know how to dance. It is easy. You just need to move. I am moving. We were both shouting over the music. Adela laughed and retreated away while shaking to the beat of Flora's book drum. At the other end of the room, she beckoned to me. I relented, scooting forward, and I honestly can't describe what I did with my legs. I just sort of moved them, kicked them perhaps. I would rather not dwell on it. Suffice to say it was enough to pass for dancing, but not good enough to keep Adela and the band members from giggling at me. These are nice memories. I hope I'm not bothering you. The end of the night decayed slowly but surely. There'd been a steady rotation of sisters between chess games and dancing, but the games of chess were now much less raucous. The dancers, myself included, when I was sitting down. You dance just like me, for real, for real? And Margaret was the last musician still playing a tune. She stood by the crackling fire, staring into the flames and plucking out a bittersweet tune. Her fingers moved delicately over the strings. The intensity with which she stared into the fireplace gave the impression that she was serenading the flames themselves. That's really a lovely tune. What is it? Man, Hedwig really talking to everybody except for Catherine. Hedwig talks to Margaret. Did I spell that wrong? Probably. Thank you. I don't know. Really, it's my own. I don't have a name for it. Oh, it's beautiful. She turned away from the fireplace and flashed one of her sad smiles at me. I sometimes wonder if I ever had a single earnest exchange while I was outside the cell. You and I, as we are here, this is as honest as it can get for me. I am free from reinterpreting what flickers across your face as your true intent. Speaking face to face is like reading a book with words that rearrange themselves. Are you going to ask me what it's about? What's about? The song? It doesn't have words, so what could it possibly be about? Margaret smiled again. Still didn't come across as happy, exactly. There was some warmth in her, but there was some warmth in her face this time. Of course. How silly of me. I don't understand. I'm the one who doesn't understand. I keep asking you these questions as if you were anyone else. Am I so different compared to these women? She tilted her head toward the others, who were all preoccupied in quiet conversations of their own. Very. None of them see the world quite like you do. Has come up with a song of her own. Hedwig doesn't understand, I guess, does not understand how the song could have meaning without lyrics. That makes me sound a little too important. I didn't say you were better than them. And for that matter, I don't think they're better than you. Everyone here is just different. And you're different in a very interesting way. We speak the same language, but sometimes I feel like I barely understand anyone. Or that nobody understands you. I felt the same way. And I've often wondered, is it the onus to change on you? Or them? Me? That was a quick answer. Why should it be anyone else's responsibility? Very noble. But by the same token, why should it be yours? Because I'm new. And I'm more out of place than they are. There are more of you than me, if that makes sense. More people who've lived their lives outside of little rooms. I couldn't possibly demand everyone else start to make concessions for me. That's very interesting. Also, I made the lute disappear. I shrunk it into my hands. Do you want to see? And now it's back. When I asked you what the song meant, what was your first reaction? Inside. In your mind before you spoke. I thought, how could a song with no words mean anything? My response was earnest, I assure you. You're very honest. Does the music make you feel something, though? It's very sad compared to what you were all playing before. You can tell. That's wonderful. But still, your question is perfectly valid. There are no words, so how could it have any meaning? I came up with a tune when I was feeling rather melancholy. I think the notes match. These notes sound sad to me. I have no idea how I would know that, and even less of an idea how you might know it. Anyway, it was silly of me to ask, but it does seem like deep down you understood me. Margaret muses about how different Hedwig is from everyone else, and wonders whose responsibility it is to change oneself or one's contexts. Hedwig argues it is the self that must change. That's fascinating, but I don't understand a word of it. He chuckled. It's the sort of thing me and Catherine used to talk about. Thank you, Hedwig. Is it really? Yes. I must admit, I'm cribbing her work a little here. She asked me these questions almost exactly once upon a time. Catherine asked her these exact same questions before, when I was new. I told her how, when I was a little girl, it was the hymns that kept me interested in Mass. Despite not knowing what any of the lyrics meant, she laughed and said, that was proof that God was in the music itself. I didn't understand what she meant at the time. I didn't agree. I might still have some complicated thoughts about all of it. But whenever I play music, I think about that. I miss her laugh. She began to pluck a new tune on her instrument. That was one of hers. What I can remember of it, anyway. I wish I could recall the whole thing. I had no idea how to respond to this, and endeavored to move past the evidently raw subject. One forlorn drunkard had been enough for me. Unfortunately, I managed to put my foot in my mouth instead. Margaret. You're from far away, yes? Here we go. Go on. Well, I may as well be from somewhere far away. Are we similar in that regard? Do we have sort of kinship? As outsiders? I lived my whole life in England, Hedwig. Oh boy. Hedwig manages to let's just use her own phrasing. Put her foot in her mouth. Her own foot in her mouth. Asking about where Margaret's by assuming Margaret is from somewhere far off. She was Margaret was actually grew up in England. As did my father. As did his father. Okay. Even further than that. Even not just grew up, is from England. Up to and including 2 generations of parentage. And his mother, for that matter. So, no, not particularly. She continued to strum her lute, and I could feel a sucking void in between each note. I'm sorry. The superior at the luncheon. I must have misinterpreted. She smiled thinly, with none of the subtle humor her vexatious expressions often betrayed. I could sense that I had tested her patience. The superior has never once asked about my life. Keep that in mind in case she's told you anything else about me. I must have looked a right fool as I gulped at her and started to think of something to say. But just then, Hedwig. The sudden intrusion made me jump. Oh no, we're gonna see drunk Flora. I turned around, but I couldn't see where Flora was. Down here. Flora sprawled out on the stone floor. The mood soured. Margaret mentions that the superior had never once asked about her life and walks off. Flora is on the floor, drunk as shit. I had so close to my foot that I might have tripped over it, taken a step to the side. What are you doing on the floor? Comfort. Nothing. I feel sick when I stand up, but down here is good. That makes sense. You were right! Yes, this is normal, I think. Catherine said this is normal. I glanced over across the room to Catherine, who was sitting at the table looking on slightly more conscious than Flora. If I lay down for long enough, I will feel normal again. I'm gonna have some more wine. Oh, I think there's plenty left. It's a rather big cask. But I could fit it in if I drank the rest of what's in there. But I'd go steady now if I were you. I need to ask Hedwig a question. What do you need, Flora? Oh, well, I used to make all those Bibles, yeah? You know how to make pictures. You mean illuminating? Yes, that's what I said. Illuminating. Yes, Flora? I did a little illuminating. So. 2 ideas. 2 ideas for you. Go on then. Oh, wait, here it is. Idea number 1. Where was all the gold from that? The gold? The gold from the illuminating! Keep up, keep up! You mean the leaf, the gold leaf? Illuminating manuscripts involves a lot of colorful pigments, including gold leaf. I always enjoyed filling in little details like halos and jewelry with my little brush. I must admit, though, it wasn't my favorite color to work with. I was partial to the deep blue pigment I broke out for depictions of certain robes, eyes, and the ocean. Right, where do we keep all that? I'm not sure. It would get brought to me in little pots every few months. I think the bishop brought them. Huh? It's not here! I could feel myself turning hot with embarrassment and shock. Flora's drunken demeanor was already knocking me off keel, and her vulgar outburst set my teeth on edge. I don't think so. Sorry, Flora. Do you want to paint with it? No, wait. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Want to steal it? Thinking about it. Look at the bitch. I could have split it in half and half. 3 ways. I want in on this deal too. Fuck! That's fair, I suppose. That's... Flora, how could you? Hedwig, I don't think you need to take this very seriously. Plotting to rob the Abbey, or worse, the diocese itself. This is very serious. You're no fun. It's paint, Flora. What Hedwig means is that gold isn't worth anything when it's paint. Wait. Oh. I knew it was too good to be true. To steal the gold leaf. Paint. To get rich. Unfortunately, it's not here. Tough luck. What would you even do with all that gold? If it was really gold, I mean. What do you think? The three of us would get out of this flippin' abbey, go someplace far away. She gestured her hands. She gestured broadly with her hand. I presume to imitate a bird or wind or something. Oh, bless her. How would you want to do that? I hate it here. Tears started welling up in her eyes. I had no idea what to say. Flora, let's get you up. Come on. She extended a hand down to Flora. I followed suit, although I'm not sure I was much help. We dragged the poor girl to her feet and brought her to one of the chairs by the fireplace. She looked positively sudden. I hate it here so much. There. Surely you don't mean that. Margaret shot me a look, and for the first time I could sense true venom behind her eyes. She wants to get the money so they can leave the abbey. It was a briefish flash of anger, but it was enough to make me feel like a flower looking up your boot. Why do you hate it here, Flora? There's nothing to do. I'm all alone. Margaret reached out to clasp her shoulder. You aren't alone, but I understand. I am, though. There's no one my age here. Nobody talks to me. I don't know what I'm doing here. I never wanted to join a convent. She broke down into little hiccuping sobs. Margaret got down on her knee and squeezed Flora's hand in hers. This is a very long sequence. I was too much of a coward to follow suit. All I could do was stand there stupidly, hoping that some of the immense pity I was feeling would be detectable to Flora and Margaret. I wanted to help, but I had not a single earthly idea what help would look like. Never had a chance, did you, Flora? Flora shook her head. I miss Catherine. I do too. She would talk to me. She was Yulad's age, but she at least knew how to listen. She was the only one who felt like a real sister to me. I opened my mouth to point out that sister was merely a title, but thought better of it. Catherine made time for everyone. I'm sorry it feels like we haven't made any time for you, Flora. I can try harder. But I like being alone. She started sobbing again. I was bewildered by this contradiction, but Margaret just smiled. I do understand. I really do. Us old fogies aren't much fun to be around, are we? Flora shook her head, and Margaret chuckled. We're all you have, I'm afraid. Not if I leave! Can't leave, Flora. None of us can. Our vows are perpetual. They don't have to be. I mean, Hedwig. She pointed at me weakly. Hedwig broke hers, and she was an actress. What have you? That was different, Flora. How? I didn't answer for this, but I could not share it. Instead, I had to stew in the uncomfortable silence between the three of us. I'm certain that's a more complicated situation, Flora. Well, maybe I could be complicated. I would be happy telling people it was complicated if they asked me how I could leave. There are always other convents you could transfer to one day. You go to London or Spain. I'm sure they have lots more nuns your age and abbeys that aren't in the middle of nowhere like our boring place. Remember when Catherine and you were planning to visit Italy? Yeah. Maybe we could try and put something like that together again for you. I'd hate to see you break your vows and throw your life away. Would that be so bad? Yes! The two of them turned to look at me inquisitively. I traced the same rage I'd sensed earlier, flickered behind Margaret's eyes, but I forged onwards. She doesn't like being in the Abbey. She feels alone because there's nobody her age here. Take it from me, Flora. Don't break your vows. Your life might feel difficult sometimes, but those struggles are nothing compared to the regret you would feel breaking that oath. If the guilt didn't consume you, the world would. No man would marry you, no lord would want your service. You would have nowhere to go but back to the church. Hey Fire, how's it going? How's Mecha Chameleon? Hope you're enjoying it. And then you would be right back where you started, feeling all the same things, with the added yoke of despair that no matter how hard you threw yourself into the work, no matter how much you believed in your vows this time, that you had made that choice, that you were once an apostate. That's a millstone that you could never take off. Flora looked ready to burst into tears again. Margaret had cast her eyes to the floor. How would you know? That's how I feel every day, Flora. Mr. Margaret is right. My choice is complicated, but I've regretted it every day since, and I will for every waking moment of my life. You don't want to end up like me. Hedwig is right, Flora. Leaving this life can be very tempting, but there's really nowhere else to go. No? I don't know if it makes me feel any better. I promise I'll do whatever I can to make you feel more at home here. Hedwig will too, won't you, Hedwig? Yes, of course! Thank you. She sniffled and pulled her hand away from Margaret's. She twiddled her thumbs together in her lap and feebly attempted a smile. I guess it's just the wine. I mean, where would you go? Where would I go? You could still travel the world if you really want. You could still travel the world if you really want to. There's no reason you can't stay. Ask the Superior to send you somewhere nice one day. I just don't want you to throw your life away. Believe me, everyone in this room has been where you are right now. Really? Really? When I was your age, I once tried to escape in the back of the delivery cart. They attempt to cheer her up. Margaret mentions that she once tried to escape in the back of a delivery cart. I was going to hop off in the village, get a boat across the lake, and from there I'd hitchhike to London, marry a wealthy man, maybe a visiting dignitary or something of the sort. Yeah, I had big ideas. Well, didn't you? Margaret grinned. Her eyes were slightly glassy. Catherine had more or less the same conversation with me that we're having with you right now. She begged me to stay. She asked what she could do to convince me. And? Well, that's when I said I wanted to play the lute. We remained silent. We all remained silent for a moment. Laura, forgive me, but earlier you said you had... Forgive me, but earlier you said you had two ideas. Is there something someone could do? Oh, that. No, it was nothing. No, it was nothing. Go on. Tell us. Well, I was going to ask if you could teach me what you know about illumination, Hedwig. After all, I'd need some skills if I were ever to leave, wouldn't I? You wanted to steal a bunch of gold paint to fund your life on the run as an artist? Margaret started to giggle. Flora looked affronted at first, but eventually joined in with a quick chuckle of her own. Shove off, eh? I like it. It's better than what my plan was. Well, I'm rubbish at drawing, so a bit of a non-starter. Hedwig will teach you. Huh? Won't you, Hedwig? Margaret's tone was light, but she was looking at me with a grim intensity. Of course I will. Can't promise much. I've only ever worked on illuminated Bibles, but just the basics. That's all I need. That's right. It's good to start somewhere. Catherine taught me about music, and she wasn't exactly Hildegard. Laura stood up from her chair. She wants to learn how to illuminate from Hedwig, and Margaret coerces Hedwig into agreeing. She was wobbling on her feet, a reminder that she was still very, very drunk. As she lurched towards me, she threw her arms around me unannounced, marking the second time this evening that I had no idea how to respond to somebody's touch. Thanks, Hedwig. You're right, you know that. What? Give the lady some space, Flora. She probably doesn't want to smell your wine breath. Why don't you go eat something? Flora released me from her embrace and gave Margaret a vaguely affirmative hand gesture. She spun around on her heel, a little unbalanced, and wandered off toward the table. Goodness. I haven't seen anyone get that pissed in a while. Did I say something wrong? I don't think so. I think we did the best we could. Did you mean it? Mean what? About breaking your vows. Do you really feel that way? Yes. There's no sense in working things backwards. Huh. Why did you do it then? In retrospect, I probably would not have made the same decision. That's why I felt it was worth telling Flora. Margaret nodded thoughtfully. Well, lovely chatting with you. She picked up her lute from the chair next to the one Flora had been sitting in, and then left to put it back on the shelf. Moms, what's gotten into Flora? Alright. I'm gonna save right here. It's getting late. We gotta go. We already took a longer than expected break because of things going wrong with the stream. But we're gonna stop right here. I think I got the quick save correct. Anyway, thank you all so much for hanging out. If you're on YouTube, busy on a stream, the rest of us on Twitch are gonna go find some raids. I hope you all have a very good night. I hope to see you again on Thursday, where we will continue this game and hopefully finally actually talk to freaking Catherine about what the heck she saw. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me. Hope to see you again soon. Later. Bye. My voice is dead.